Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Dr. James Gilmore, and you are watching What's Going On, where we talk about what's going on in our community, in the state, the nation, and the world. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to What's Going On. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing someone that is doing some great work in our state. I actually reached out to him in hopes to get this interview to share the good news, because I am a product of the good news. I am here to interview our Commissioner of Insurance, Mr. Tim Temple. Thank you so much, Mr. Temple, for interviewing with me.
I'll tell you what, you call me Tim and I won't call you Dr. Gilmore.
Okay,
How about that?
Sounds good, Tim. Could you first, because my listening audience is so diverse, could you first tell us a little bit about who you are, the Department of Insurance, and your role in serving Louisiana's population?
Sure. Again, my name's Tim. Grew up in DeRidder, Louisiana, so Beauregard Parish, north of Lake Charles. I grew up in an insurance family. My father was involved in the industry. And was for many, many years. And so my formative years, if you will, growing up and then through high school and on through college, my father was very involved in the insurance industry in Louisiana, bringing solutions to problems that individuals and businesses were facing. And so I kind of grew up under that guise. Graduated from college and spent the next 20 plus years in the industry. And growing up, insurance agent, reinsurance broker, did disaster recovery, catastrophe claims management, was involved in a runoff of a Bermuda captive. Wow. There's a lot of things, loss control. I saw a lot, I got to see a lot through the eyes of my father and the company that he was one of the founders of in DeRidder, which there was a problem back in the 80s with work comp, and they were able to start a company that writes workers' compensation. Primarily focused in the logging industry because that was an issue there. So I grew up seeing my father tackle problems from an insurance perspective for our state citizens and businesses. Stayed in the industry and then had an opportunity to run for this office decided to run for this office back in 2019 against my predecessor. I lost that election. But I enjoyed the campaigning. I'm one of those, odd people. I enjoyed, getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go speak to a group in Shreveport at, 7 o'clock, to then go over to Monroe and speak to a group, and then stop in Alexandria and be back at my house at midnight, same day. And I enjoyed it not because I just like lots of windshield time, but I enjoyed meeting the great people of our state. And I often say, if you ever get down, or you think our state's not headed in the right direction, or you just feel a little depressed about it, go out and travel our state, and you will meet some of the finest people on this planet
that are doing some magnificent things,
that are also facing some really tough challenges. But it just buoys me, my spirit, and that's why I spend a lot of time on the road. Ever since I've been in office, I constantly travel, and much to my daughter's and my wife's charging, I do spend a lot of time traveling around the state. But this is a statewide office, and I take that charge seriously. But so, I grew up, ran for the office, lost, ran second time in 2023, was successful there, and hit the ground running. Before I was in the office, I became commissioner-elect in October of 23. That gave me a 6-month advantage to start to work towards identifying what I wanted to do from day one in the office, identifying problems, challenges. We formed some study groups to look and see, invited stakeholders to talk about what the problems were. And so on January 8th of 2024, when I was sworn in, we hit the ground running, worked with the legislature that year, created a package of bills to address what the industry had identified were some challenges to doing business, what a lot of stakeholders identified that drove expense, why claims are more expensive in our state. And we can get into that, I'm sure, throughout through the course of this interview. But the role as commissioner is to regulate the industry for the benefit of the consumers, which means you also have to work with the industry to make sure that they're here. Insurance is a private industry. They do not have to do business in the state of Louisiana. And just like any business, if they want to put their capital at risk, they want to do it in an environment where they're going to be treated favorably. Favorably meaning fairly when they have a claim. They want to be treated fairly from a regulatory standpoint, how they're regulated. They want to be treated fairly, how they're taxed. Everything, all doing business.
The business has to make sense.
It has to make sense, and they have to at least have an opportunity to potentially make a profit. It's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
And if you think about insurance, this is a product that when you sell it, you don't know if you're going to make money or not. Right. If I buy a bottle of water for 50 cents and sell it to you for $1, well, I know I got that 50 cents. Insurance, they sell the product, they don't know if they're going to make money at that time because there's a year for you to file a claim. If you don't file a claim, well, then they at least had a chance to make money on that one particular policy. But maybe on their whole portfolio, they don't. Or maybe the next day you have a fire, burned your house down.
Right.
You paid $5,000 in premium, and they're going to pay $200,000 to you to rebuild your home. So they don't know, and so you want to try and set the conditions so that they're as fair and balanced as possible. Because, like I said, we're competing against Mississippi and Alabama and Texas and Arkansas and California and New York for companies to come to do business in our state. We're competing on them from the regulatory environment, how they're treated by the department. They look at how their claims are treated when they have a claim from the legal environment and how they're taxed, everything I mentioned. So as a regulator, I got to take all those bits of all those ingredients and try and create an environment that is favorable to the consumer, meaning availability and affordability, while at the same time making sure that we're attracting insurance companies to come to Louisiana. It's tough, it's a challenge, it's very complex, but it can be done. We are the most expensive state in America for homeowners insurance, auto insurance. So that means 49 other states, and at the end of the day, the top 10 states on the affordability are doing something really good. So it can be done. We don't deserve to pay the highest premiums in the country. I can tell you that. Looking at everything that I have access to and knowing what I know about the industry, we do not, it's not just, their losses justify it, but we can change our environment and become much more affordable if we get serious about the solutions.
Well, let's talk about the solutions, because I'm sure we can, one of my questions is how do we get here?
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's a long answer. How do we get to be the most expensive?
Yeah. Well, let's touch on that just briefly on the homeowner side, because a lot of people are still suffering from unaffordable homeowners insurance, crushing premiums. Premiums that if they pay that premium, then they can't pay some other bills, right? They got to everything's finite, and so they have to reallocate sources. So homeowners, for about a 10-year period from 2010 to 2020, we had a relatively calm hurricane catastrophe decade. Very few. I'm just drawing a blank right now, but we had one or two hurricanes touch our state during that 10-year period, but they were relatively minor. So we had a lot of insurance companies come in and want to do business here. And all that competition, which we want, we benefit from that, it drove premiums down, which is good. It became a problem when those premiums became less than what they needed, rate adequate, we say. They were charging less premium than the risk that they were assuming. They weren't buying the reinsurance levels that they needed to. They weren't keeping the reserves, the surpluses to pay claims as high as they should have. We had 12 companies went insolvent, 12 companies that took your premium, my premium, some of your viewers' premiums, took their money, and then when they had a claim said, sorry, we're out of business. Wow. So rates came down. That created obviously a problem in our state when you had 12 markets that weren't writing. In addition to that, after those 4 hurricanes, Laura, Delta, Zeta, and Ida from 2020-21, 4 hurricanes, 12 months, 800,000 claims filed, $24 billion paid out. Wow. Several carriers just said, we're not going to do business there anymore. So it created a very high demand, very low supply. So that drove prices up. Reinsurance costs went up. COVID, just the cost of doing business, building materials went up. So, your house may have cost $200,000 to rebuild, prior to those hurricanes. Now, because of labor and all those other things, now it may be $250,000 or $300,000. Insurance companies have to price for that. So there was a lot of negative headwinds that drove premiums up. We're still facing a lot of that. But so that's kind of how we got to the property market. We're starting to ease our way out, and we can talk about that.
Well, I want to talk about that because the reason we are here is because maybe about a month ago, I was on the telephone with my automobile insurance agent, and she said, hey, James, would you like for us to run you a different quote? My first question was, well, why? Well, we maybe can save you money. There's been some changes. And I, initially, whatever. So I asked the question, I said, well, is this a credit hit? She said, no. And she reran it, and I was able to save about $240 a month, $50 a month.
On your auto insurance?
On my auto insurance, and I have 6 cars.
That's real money.
That's real money.
$3,000, almost $3,000 a year.
And so I didn't believe it. And so then I started telling my friends and my mother and others, hey, call your insurance agent and just ask them to give you a new quote. And then people started responding back to me. I save $50 a month. I save 40. I save 60. So that's really also why I'm here. What changed? Evidently, this has been something that since your tenure here as commissioner, what are some things that was done at the legislature maybe, or policy changes that have led to the cost savings now?
Sure. Well, let's start with this. Shop your insurance.
Okay.
Always shop your insurance.
Proven method, opportunity to save.
I get it, and I'm guilty of this myself. I mean, you get very comfortable and complacent with where your insurance is. Let's admit it. A lot of people don't want to deal with it. Yeah. It's a negative, response you have when dealing with insurance. So if you don't touch it and don't think about it, that's better. Most people think that way.
And then most people don't have relationships with their agents because agents are great salespeople, and sometimes you don't want to leave an agent that you've been with for 20 or 30 years.
Some do, some don't. Right. but I tell people all the time, be proud of your dollars and make sure that whoever you're doing business with earns those dollars, right? And so that's what I'm saying. Be very proud of where you spend money. Mm-hmm. And so you may have been doing business with the same insurance company for years and years and years. Shop your insurance. Make sure you're getting the best deal. It's complicated. Sometimes it's confusing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you end up dealing with realities that you really just don't want to. Mm-hmm. Valuations on home. Oh, I got to update this schedule. I mean, there's things that you have to do. That's why having a good agent, or if you don't like dealing with an agent, and you want to go with a direct writer, a company that doesn't use. Make sure you do business with one that you feel comfortable with, but values you, right? And so that's what I'm saying. Always shop your insurance. And when you do, people are surprised. They're like, I've been leaving money on the table. So shop your insurance. But specifically to that, look, in 2024, we looked at the property from the legislative session. That was kind of the focus of the legislature, and myself, the governor got involved and very supportive of property reform. Mm-hmm. A lot of good bills were passed. We're starting to see it's slow, but we're starting to see the benefits of that, and I think we're going to continue to see that, especially with reinsurance costs coming down. Certainly having a very abnormal event of a hurricane season where not one hurricane touched the U.S. coast, but also keep in mind 3 of the hurricanes of many that year were Category 5 hurricanes. None of them touched Louisiana or anywhere in the continental U.S., but they were still 3 Cat 5 hurricanes. Any one of those could turn the market upside down. We got lucky. But a lot of pressures pushed the homeowners down. On the auto side, or is pushing the homeowners market down. On the auto side, in 2025 legislative session, we pivoted and went to auto reform, legal reform. Some people call it tort reform. And that was the focus of the 2025 session. Many of those bills just were enacted in the last, month and 4 days, right? We're February 4th?
Yeah.
4th? Yeah. I'm losing track of the days here, 3rd or 4th. But many of those bills just now came into effect, so they haven't had the time to have an impact on the market. But many people are seeing decreases. In the last year, we've had over 30 companies take rate decrease in the auto market. The statewide average is about 5.5%.
Okay.
There are some companies that are taking 10, 12% decreases. Some smaller than that, but the average is about 5. And
is that because they're feeling more comfortable?
And that's a statewide average. Well, not really yet.
Okay.
And I want to qualify that because, again, many of these companies, a lot of this rate decrease happened before session. Some of it happened during session. So it wasn't based on legislation that had passed yet. Many companies have just seen less claims. Part of that, I believe, is if you think about January of 2025, the state was shut down for an entire week.
Yeah.
That was a week where no cars were on the road, which means no accidents were occurring, which means no claims were being filed and litigation associated with it and all that. So I really think that was part of it. And then we had two other weather events that tapered, that shut down, not shut down the entire state, but portions of it that just said, so that helped reduce the frequency. I think that's part of what it is. I think an argument can be made that a law was passed in 2024 that says you now have 2 years to file a lawsuit if you were involved in an accident and you think that you need to litigate. I think that's also part of it. Now, we'll know if that's for sure when that 2 year period starts. If we start seeing lawsuits start rolling back on, then that was. But we haven't fully benefited from the laws that were passed. I think the best is yet to come on that. I think we I expect to continue to see reduced rates on auto, private passenger auto. Where we've not seen an impact is on commercial trucking, any commercial fleets. And a lot of people think of commercial autos as the big 18-wheelers or the log trucks we see. And look, those folks need help as much as anybody. But you've also got the small trucks, the plumbing vans, the heating and air contractors that are, all these other, if a vehicle's owned by a company, that's a commercial auto.
Commercial auto.
That sector of the industry has not seen any relief. So we've got more work to do on that. So this upcoming session, you're going to see that. But we are making progress. People are seeing savings. An unofficial number is all of those decreases I talked about, the 30 plus companies, those rate decreases, that equates to about a little over $300 million that you and I, as ratepayers for our private passenger auto, are going to save. Wow. That's about $300 million that we, as consumers, get to keep and spend anywhere else that we need to spend it, or save it.
Or save it.
Right. So that's a huge, and that's gonna blend in over the next 12 months. That will come in. But I mean, that's a huge. It's a boost to our economy, a soft boost if you think about it. That's a $300 million that we're not paying to insurance companies that we get to spend on gas, milk, whatever we need to spend it. So I'm pleased with the results that we've been able to work on that. I still think the best is yet to come on auto insurance.
Well, good. Well, I am here because I'm a living proof that what you all have been doing is working, and many others are. And I hope that we can continue in this direction.
Look, we're going to. As long as I'm in this office, I am always going to push to make Louisiana as competitive as we can. And that means every session, we're always looking for what bills we need to file, if we need to tweak some old legislation, or if we need to look at other states that may have passed legislation that we need to do to kind of keep up. Regulatory-wise, we're always talking here within the department how we can be more efficient, how we can help not only the consumers with calls and questions they have. I mean, we've recently started doing pop-ups around the state. So we're going to, the Department of Insurance, if you want to come and sit with someone at the Department of Insurance, no matter where you live in the state, you have to come to Baton Rouge. We do not have satellite offices. We're not set up that way. We don't have the budgetary opportunity to do that. Probably people would get mad if we start to expand our footprint. So we're doing pop-ups now. So we will be around the state every month or every other month, bringing people from the department so they will sit down. And if you want to come and if you live in Shreveport and you want to sit down and ask an insurance representative from the department questions, we're going to have an opportunity for you to do that and not have to come here.
Or we can look on your website for that.
Yes, that information is out there. We're pushing that on social media. Good. We're working with, like I said, our next one is in West Monroe. Okay. West Monroe, and I think it's the end of this month, February 25th, 26th, somewhere around there. It's a 2-day event, but we're working with the mayors of those areas, the city council, the elected officials, to let them all know we're going to be here. So message it to everybody, and if we get 100 people, 200, whatever it is, we want people to come out and ask questions.
Well, and I'll go to the website and I'll be posting that agenda so that people across the state can attend these pop-up shops.
No, I would appreciate that.
This has been a fantastic opportunity. Again, in my lifetime, I haven't experienced a renewal where there was a decrease. And so I'm
Yeah.
glad that you took the time out of your busy schedule to be able to answer these few questions about what the Department of Insurance does, as well as what's going on with insurance rates right now, and hopefully we'll continue to see savings in the future.
Well, we're going to continue. I mean, I'm going to continue to push for reform and working with companies to attract them. I want consumers to have as much choice as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, when companies compete for our business, we benefit from that.
And you also recommend that folks shop around.
Shop around. The other thing too is a fortified roof. We haven't talked about that a
Yes,
lot.
let's talk about that.
The Louisiana adopted a fortified roof program maybe 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. They funded it for the first time at the end of 2023, and so since November of 2023, when the first fortified roof was put on, to today, we've got total, through the Louisiana grant program and others programs out there, and people just putting roofs on, over 10,000 fortified roofs.
Very good.
But a fortified roof is it's a particular building style where a roofer comes. They use a different type shingle. It's a heavier, thicker shingle. It's rated for higher wind speeds. It's thicker than kind of your average shingle. They use a certain nail, a particular nail. It's called a ring shank nail. It's designed to go into the roof, into the decking, and stay in. It's harder for it to be lifted out.
Lifted up.
They put a waterproof barrier between your roof material and your decking, so that if you lose shingles, the waterproof barrier is there. It keeps your contents dry.
Wow.
And at the end of the day, if you can keep your shingles on your roof and your contents dry, your claim is reduced dramatically. All your stuff doesn't get wet. Your ceilings, your walls, your flooring, your stuff, the things that you own, all of that stays dry. And while you may lose power, utilities to your home, all that just means that when those things turn back on, you're back in your home. Or if you're fortunate enough and you have a generator, you can still live in your home because you don't have a hole in it. You don't have, you're not drying out your home. And so the fortified roof is a huge benefit. It's, quite frankly, Louisiana's long-term future plan for affordable housing in South Louisiana. It doesn't make sense in North Louisiana. So you get a fortified roof, you also get a discount. Every admitted company that writes homeowners insurance has a filed discount with the Department of Insurance. Some of them are some small single digit, some of them are very strong double digit discounts. And I mean, it's real money. The legislative auditor did an audit of our program last year. The average savings was about 22% every year that fortified roof. And it's a 5-year certification, and then you have to get it recertified for another 5 years.
So you save on your insurance.
You save on your insurance. If you pay for it yourself, you get that payback in about 5 years.
Wow.
In addition to that, you can, if you choose to put there's a grant program. So every year we will start having about $27-30 million a year to do these fortified grants. If you don't want to wait for that program, you can put a fortified roof on yourself. If you're replacing a roof or building a new home, and you can get a tax deduction up to $10,000, or you could get a tax credit up to $10,000. But the credit is subject to a $10 million cap from the Department of Revenue. So once they've handed out $10 million in tax credits, no more for the year. But the discounts, deductions. There's no cap on the $10,000 deduction.
So
it incentivizes people, if they want to put it on themselves, if they've got a roof that needs replacement, get a fortified roof and get that deduction. Also get that credit from your insurance company on the savings.
I really like that. And I've read a little bit about fortified rooftops, and they really work with saving money as well as getting people back in their home quickly, because, as consumers, we want to get back home, but you can't get back home if everything's,
right.
You know what I mean?
If you can't live in your home.
Exactly.
And if you've got a roof, or if it's, all wet inside,
right.
it's a challenge. And so this mitigates the damage and makes the home and the community more resilient.
Right. Fortified roofs. I have friends who are roofers. Do you have to find a specific roofer that has this expertise? Yes. And is there a list maybe on your website, or where can someone watching be able to identify a roofer that knows how to put on a fortified roof?
First, I would tell you can go to the department's website at www.ldi.la.gov.
Right.
On there, there's it's one of the first or second scrolls. You can click on the fortified roof program. It gives you the particulars. what you have to do to qualify, and that's kind of through the grant program.
Yes.
But roofers have to be certified to put on a fortified roof if you want to get that certificate, which you need to take to your insurance company. Not every roofer, but I'll tell you, the roofing industry is embracing it.
Good.
We get more and more roofers. We do not maintain the database of who's a roofer that can put on a certified fortified roof. I want to say it's the fire marshal.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but that data is pushed to us. So our information is accurate, but we do not maintain it. We don't tell roofers if they're certified or not. There is a process they have to go through, but the Department of Insurance doesn't oversee that process.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, this has been an excellent. Is there any closing remarks? It's been an excellent interview. Are there any closing remarks that you'd like to give to the listening audience?
Look, I would say, hold on. I mean, I know it's tough.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, people, not everybody is still seeing that premium relief that we mentioned that, you've seen, especially in the homeowners market. It is slower to change in the homeowners market. You know, if you think about the auto industry, with hundreds of thousands of vehicles on the road every day, and anytime you make a change, it filters in quicker because that change is you're going to feel that impact sooner. Homeowners insurance, it's one of those things, and we saw this in Florida. They passed several laws. They had 4 special sessions back in 21 and 22 to address their insurance crisis. They just started seeing the benefit of that last year in 2025. Well, and starting in 2024, but 2025 it really took hold. It takes a couple of years because, the laws get passed, but they still have to be tested, if you will, by actual events.
The markets have to respond.
So we don't want the event to happen.
Right.
We don't want a catastrophe to happen to test the market to make sure that the laws that we passed work as intended. But the downside of that is they don't get tested, so we don't feel the full impact of that. Florida, unfortunately for them, they had Hurricane Milton and Helena. And the laws that they passed worked as intended, but they had to have those 2 hurricanes. But now they're benefiting from seeing reduced premiums, more competition coming in, all that. Louisiana, we haven't had our laws tested, and I don't want them tested, but at the same time, we don't fully benefit from that until they are. So it's a little bit of it's a chicken and the egg, a little bit, if you will, but industry is starting to lean forward. Yesterday I had a conversation with a big, a writer that writes a lot of property in Louisiana, and I was met with the CEO and their senior staff, and I'm like, please lean into Louisiana, to the reform that we've done. We did it. We feel confident that those will have positive impacts, so I need the industry to hedge and lean in more. Consumers in Louisiana need premium relief. The reinsurance markets have made a lot of money over the last several years because there weren't these big national cats that Louisiana, like I said, that we didn't experience. Property writers, the companies that we do business with, they have had the potential over the last couple of years because there weren't any hurricanes in Louisiana. They've had the chance to make a little money back. I'm asking companies, it's now time for consumers to be able to save a little money because these other 2, sectors have made some money. So we need premium relief. I have conversations constantly with them. I want them to do business here. I want them to be able to charge the appropriate rate, but it's also got to be an affordable rate for the consumers.
Well, let me tell you,
we're pushing hard on that.
I want to say this to you, Commissioner. You are a statewide elected official, and oftentimes, I know politicians get a bad rap, but it sounds like you are working, and sounds like the people in your staff in this department are really working for the consumers. And so I want to say I really appreciate that.
Well, no, and I appreciate you. I mean, look, but listen, I love this job. I really do. I love the opportunity that the people of Louisiana have given me to try and make a difference. It's not as fast as everybody wants. It will come. We will get there, but we're pushing hard every single day, but I still am very honored on the opportunity to try and have a positive impact.
Excellent. Thank you all so much for watching. Please share this post. We want everyone to be aware of what's going on as it relates to insurance rates, and I am so privileged to have had the opportunity to interview our Commissioner of Insurance. Mr. Temple has been doing great things for our state. Tim has been doing great work for our state. And don't forget, shop around for your insurance. or ask your current agent to rerun your insurance and maybe you'll get some savings. Again, share this post. Thanks again for the interview, and everyone have a great rest of your day. Take care.